Competing in a bodybuilding show was way crazier than I expected it to be. I had to push myself to my physical and also mental limits to get below 10% body fat. Needless to say, just staying on the cut was one of the biggest struggles I had to overcome. And today, I wanted to share my personal strategies that I use to avoid cheating on my diet, along with some science behind why these methods actually work. So whether you're cutting for a show or just trying to stay on track, these tips can help you. I'm gonna be honest, growing up, I was a juice and pop raised kid. So that means plain old water was the last thing to touch my mouth. But as I became older, and especially during my cut, it became priority number one. Drinking lots, and I do mean lots of water, does more than just quench your thirst. It actually helps you feel full. Often, our bodies misinterpret dehydration as hunger, and the research supports this. One study found that drinking water before meals can lead to reduced caloric intake. So if you're anything like I was growing up and as a teenager, you're probably often dehydrated. A good indicator that I use is the color of my pee. The less clear it is, the more dehydrated I probably am. And so during my cut, I made sure I drank water throughout the entire day, so I was less likely to mistake thirst for hunger, which also helped a lot in avoiding unnecessary snacking. So just make sure you're staying hydrated within healthy limits and not overdoing it. This one seems pretty obvious, but once you track calories for months on end, you realize just how much of a caloric cost junk food has when compared to their healthier options. Junk foods are usually very calorie dense and low in nutritional value. Having junk food very often leads to cycles of overeating. And there's a couple reasons for this. One is the high caloric density. Foods like chips, pop, and most fast food have a lot of calories and a very small amount of volume, which means you need to eat a lot more before you actually feel full. The second is the reward system activation. Junk foods tend to be in the high range of sugars and fats, which can trigger a rise in dopamine levels, the brain's feel-good chemical. And triggering that dopamine spike through poor eating often leads to a behavioral change, making you crave the junk food even more. In a 2011 study published in Nature Neuroscience, researchers discovered that high-fat, high-sugar foods can alter the brain's reward system circuitry. This alteration leads to heightened cravings and compulsive eating behaviors, similar to what is observed with addictive substances. Instead of giving in to my cravings, I focus on home-cooked meals with lots of vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, and complex carbs. These foods give me more volume and fiber with fewer calories, keeping me full longer. Meal timing played a crucial role in my dieting process. Although I usually skip breakfast, which might not be ideal for maximizing muscle protein synthesis, it definitely helped me in a different way. And probably the most important thing, it prevented late night binging. So by strategically timing my meals, I was able to adapt to my hunger patterns. I knew for me, I had way less energy, especially after a long day, to resist my cravings at night if I was really hungry. And so to prevent that, I saved a larger portion of my meals for later in the day. Another big thing that helped me is recognizing a pattern in the times I felt hungry. By making sure I ate my meal before I reached that point of extreme hunger, it helped prevent me getting to the mindset of thinking, I'm so hungry, but I'm so tired. I just want something quick and easy, and I definitely don't want anything healthy. I want pizza. So if you can recognize when you're about to feel that hunger, if you can make sure you get something in, it can help prevent that from ever happening. At least it did for me. Stress can be a big trigger for overeating. When I had a really hard day, which happened quite often, especially because I was in a cut, I used food as a form to cope, which quickly turned into a habit. When we experience stress, our bodies release a chemical called cortisol, a hormone that not only increases appetite, but also specifically drives cravings for high sugar and high fat foods. A study published in the journal Appetite actually found that elevated cortisol levels directly linked to increased cravings for such foods. So by recognizing this pattern, I made a conscious effort to find alternative stress relieving strategies, like going for a walk, trying to meditate, talking to someone I trust, or just playing my favorite video game. This helped reduce my reliance on food for emotional comfort. I still had those days where I just wanted a pizza and I got a pizza, but I just tried to focus on not giving in as often, which helped me build resilience. And I didn't crave those foods as often, even when I felt like my world was falling apart. For my show, and the number one thing that has helped me make consistent progress over time is tracking my workouts, my weight, and my calories. I knew exactly how many calories I could have in a day and what my macronutrient goals were. Although I usually avoided junk food, if I had enough calories at night and I hit my protein goal, I would have a chocolate bar and sometimes even a burger. It was always about portion control and staying within my calorie limits for the day. As long as I did that, no matter what junk food I ate, I would still lose fat. Obviously, the longer my cut went on and the less calories I had, the less room I had to play with. And so my meals were just less flexible. But at the end of the day, if your main goal is to lose fat, it really is as simple as calories in versus calories out. All the diet fads, all the diet trends like keto, all have to follow by this basic principle. One of the biggest challenges was adapting to the new feeling of not constantly eating. After my cut, I was on a bulk, and a dirty one at that. I was eating anything and everything whenever I felt like. I was so used to frequent snacking that even slight hunger would trigger a binge. It definitely wasn't easy, and breaking a habit never is. But on the good news, my body began to recalibrate its hunger signals after about 3 weeks. Studies have shown that with consistent dieting, the body can adapt to a lower calorie intake, making the feeling of hunger way less overwhelming. And honestly, going from a bulk to a cut, after about 3 weeks, I felt way better than I've ever felt before. I felt healthier and I didn't have that feeling of being stuffed all the time. It's also worth noting that pushing your body to extremely low body fat levels, like below 10% for a bodybuilding show, can actually intensify hunger. For most of you, a moderate approach is more sustainable and healthier in the long run. But if you are doing a bodybuilding show, you have to understand that there will be a point in time in which the hunger comes back and will only get worse. It's better to accept hunger as something that just is instead of trying to fight it. Sure, you can find ways to optimize your diet volume, but at the end of the day, you're still going to feel hunger. To wrap it up, and I usually don't, these strategies, staying hydrated, cutting out junk food, timing my meals, managing stress, calorie tracking, and allowing my body time to adjust were key in keeping me on track with my cut without falling into the trap of constant snacking or cheat days. Remember, understanding the science behind these methods can empower you to make smarter choices on your fitness journey.